We are the Meltdown, and we are here with a new retro trailer reaction. This series looks to reintroduce and put the spotlight on some notable movies from previous years. All of the choices featured within this series have been hand-selected by our Meltdown crew. Some of these selections include some of us completing first watches, and some include those timeless classics that we may have all seen numerous times. Join us throughout Season 1 for a look at the retro trailers and the discussions that follow. Today's entry is 1997's The Game, starring Michael Douglas and directed by acclaimed filmmaker David Fincher. Michael Douglas was asked by Collider about The Game and said, quote, "I think what I'm most proud about is that it's one of the very few movies that you could not guess the ending. That's why I'm such a big sports fan. With sports, you can never guess what's going to happen. Most movies, you get halfway through and you kind of guess the ending. The Game, you could never figure out what the ending was going to be." David Fincher is a very talented filmmaker. It was an extremely tough shoot. It was a very long, a lot of nights. I thought it was a really well-made picture, very unpredictable, and I do hear that picture when I talk about movies that I've made that people liked a lot. So with that, let's introduce our panel today. I am Meltdown host Tim Melton. That is my co-host John Lunsford.
Welcome, everybody. Excited to get going with this retro trailer review.
Our producer is Tyler Johns.
What's up, you guys?
And finally, we introduce to our audience beloved Meltdown contributor Rockstar, who you see daily on The Next Round.
Hey, good. How are you? Damn it.
Nailed it.
Okay.
Rockstar. This film was your selection. Why did you pick 1997's The Game?
It's one of those films, I think, when I think about it, a film that I really loved in the 90s that you don't really hear a lot about. And I love David Fincher from him doing Seven and him doing The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which was really, really dark. But this film, as an underrated film, was like, I'd never hear anybody talk about it. I know Lance loved it. I remember he let Brown borrow it one day, and Brown was like, I wasn't a fan of it. I was like, of course. But it's just one of those ones it's real dramatic. It's got those little haunting piano keys throughout the entire film. It's just a super tense film. And I was like, that's something we could talk about because it's an original piece that I've never seen. And I'm so glad they never did a sequel.
It does feel like a very underappreciated Fincher movie for sure. With all of that laid out, John, let's now go ahead without further hesitation and visit the retro trailer for 1997's The Game.
What do you get for the man who has everything?
Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you, Maggie.
I don't like her. So what brings you to town, Conrad? Everything all right?
October 12th. Nikki's birthday.
This is for you. Consumer Recreation Services.
Call that number.
Why?
They make your life fun.
What are you selling?
It's a game.
A game.
Specifically tailored for each participant.
John, chapter 9, verse 25. Whereas once I was blind, now I can see. Now I can see.
One day your game begins. You either love it or hate it.
Are you going to spend the rest of the evening prying at that clown's mouth?
Mr. Van Orton, is everything all right?
Ah, Mr. Van Orton.
Have we met?
I believe so.
Why are you following me? Find out about a company called Consumer Recreation Services.
They won't stop, Nick.
He's in on it.
I paid the bill. I paid him more to make it stop.
I need the police. You're gonna break into my house. I need voided by a bunch of depraved children. They're trying to kill me.
Who's behind this? Who did this to me? Why?
This is all the game.
Ah!
Right now, I am extremely dangerous.
You're behind the whole thing, aren't you? No! They make your life fun.
There's the trailer. At times it actually feels very modern, the trailer does, in my opinion. From this point on, we'll be including spoilers for the game in our discussion points. So if you'd like to watch the movie, pause this video, come back to it. We understand, as you saw in parts of the trailer, Nicholas Van Orton, played by Douglas, is a wealthy, selfish investment banker in San Francisco. He has lunch with his estranged younger brother Conrad, played by Sean Penn, who gifts him an unusual present for his 48th birthday, a voucher for a game offered by a company called Consumer Recreation Services. Nicholas, who is also haunted by his father's suicide that he witnessed as a child, goes through a series of traumatic events throughout the movie. This includes him accidentally shooting his own brother Conrad in the third act of the film. Devastated, Nicholas then leaps off the roof to end his life, but instead lands on a giant air cushion. He is then greeted by Conrad, who is alive since the gun was actually just a prop, and also the rest of the people from the game he has experienced. Absolutely everything had been staged for his birthday present from Conrad, with the intention of helping Nicholas become a better person and embrace life. So, John, what was your take on the game, or as I like to call it, the 1997 episode of Impractical Jokers?
Oh, bad.
I thought you were going to make a Triple H joke there with the game, but it's been hard searching this WrestleMania weekend with that. But so I think this is the first David Fincher movie I ever saw. The first time I saw this was probably early to mid 2000s, before I had seen. I've never actually just sat down and watched Fight Club all the way through, but I've seen enough of it and sat down and watched a couple times that I've pretty much seen the whole movie and obviously know the twist. And then I hadn't seen 7. I still haven't seen 7. Really until The Social Network. That was when I was like, this dude's pretty good. I like his movies, and started revisiting a little bit more of his catalog, Benjamin Button, all that kind of stuff. But this was the first one I'd seen, and knowing the twist and seeing the twist that happens in this one, and then learning, oh, there's a twist in Fight Club. Oh, there's a twist in 7. Oh, there's a twist in all these different movies that he's done. This, for me, even though it followed 7, is kind of the base of, I got to top that. I got to have another twist that I can kind of put in there. Like, like Nolan, I feel like has tried to outdo himself with every single movie. This, for me, is where it started, and now I expect more every time I watch a David Fincher movie, which is why when I watch a movie like The Killer, I am not as big a fan of it, because it's not like, oh my God, I can't believe when you get to the end. It's more of just a story kind of that's told. But I, in no way, shape, form, or fashion, would have ever taken that card and done anything with it. When I got it from Sean Penn, I would have thrown it in the trash and been like, Consumer Recreation Services, that's the most fake looking thing ever. I have not seen a trailer until now. That's actually the first time I've watched the trailer, because being from 1997, by the time somebody had recommended it to me and I watched it, I just watched it. I didn't have to watch a trailer. 2 things from that. Number one, they don't portray Sean Penn to be, I don't call him a loser, but they don't portray him to be
a deadbeat,
as big a deadbeat as he actually is in the movie. When it's like, October 12th, it's your birthday. Oh, thank you. And it's like, it's October 11th, and then snatches the card. Like, they leave that kind of stuff out of the trailer to not build Sean Penn to be up how he actually was in the movie. And then, they didn't have a voiceover guy. I thought that was actually interesting for a trailer. Back then,
felt very modern.
Always had movie voice guy talking over everything, and so when you made that comment, I was like, you're right. First thing I noticed is there's no guy saying "in a world" and then setting it up after that. So, pretty good trailer work, good promotional work. That if this was a movie in 1997, I was 10, so I wasn't running out to see rated R movies necessarily, but it would have been a movie. If I was this age, I would have been like, I got to go see that. That looks really good. So good promotion for it as well. Knowing the twist hurts a rewatch. I've rewatched it multiple times throughout my life, but it does hurt. Not quite as bad as like a Sixth Sense rewatch, where you're just like, I can't watch this. It still is good. I thought Sean Penn was actually really good in it. I really fell in love with Sean Penn with The Tree of Life, but going back and watching Sean Penn stuff now, I can really have an appreciation for him. Been a big Michael Douglas fan. I thought he was really well cast in this as well. But yeah, it's a movie that Rocky said, I'm glad they hadn't made a sequel to. I cannot believe they have not remade this movie.
That's what I was going to, yeah.
Because there are movies like it. I just talked about Self-Reliance that came out this year in 2024. It's kind of like that, but it's more of like a comedy version of that. I'm surprised they haven't made a remake of it. I think you could potentially, except for the fact that everybody would know the twist, so you'd have to change it up a little bit. But I think you could use this as pretty good source material to craft some kind of movie. Not that David Fincher would do it, but craft some kind of good movie using this moving forward, and we haven't really seen that yet.
I think what you do is you take the company and make that the only thing that carries over from movie to movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
And keep the company intact, but a whole new story. And who knows? Maybe something goes wrong in the game part 2. I don't know. We're already greenlighting a sequel here, too.
That's the thing, is there's so many ways Michael Douglas could have died. I mean, hey, car goes in, pulls it, I can get out of the window. The minute they hit the water, he could have hit his head on something and been dead.
Well, when he signed those insurance policies there in the office.
I know. I'm not saying it would have been legally, they would have been held liable for it. But when he jumps off the roof at the end, and then they're like, hey, it's, breakaway glass, but it can still cut you. It's like, that dude could have sliced his throat open just jumping off that. I mean, there's so many different things.
You can nitpick this movie to death.
You got to suspend disbelief.
But in the rewatch, it's like, he should have died right there. He should have died right there. Ooh, I could have seen him die right there. It's like, who wants to go through all this stuff? Watching it after the fact, it's, once again, the twist kind of takes away from it, knowing it's all supposed to be fake. But when you're watching it the first time, it's like, what is happening to this dude?
To me, it feels like therapy is much cheaper than this. It has to be.
Yes.
Than to go through this elaborate setup. Tyler, this was your first ever viewing of this movie. What are some of the elements that you liked and disliked about the game?
So I'm a big David Fincher fan, but I had never seen this movie before. So when I watched it, I really enjoyed all of the different misdirections Fincher used. Michael Douglas's performance was great, but one thing I just didn't like were all of the little things we can nitpick after the twist ending. One big example is if all the guns have blanks, why is anything damaged the whole movie?
Oh, Tyler.
Whether it's the apartment, the windshield, the CRS office, anything.
Yeah, I wonder, in my head, what I did was I said that those were little pyro that was set.
Oh, they were just constantly setting off squibs.
So that way.
Well, it's like when Sean Penn gets shot, he's bloody. He clearly didn't get shot. Like at the end, he had a little, blood thing.
But I agree, it can be nitpicked to death for sure. Rockstar, I'm going to get into some of the things I liked and disliked here, and then I'm going to give you sort of the final authority on this since it was your pick. One thing that I really liked about this movie was the performance from Michael Douglas.
Yes.
The movie does not work without that performance, and he is stellar in this role. It almost feels like sort of spiritual successor to Wall Street in a way of the character in which he's playing. Greed is good, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that he does a fantastic job in this role. I also am a big fan of character actor James Rebhorn, which is someone that you saw in Independence Day. You also saw him as playing the dad in the movie Blank Check. He was there in these mid-90s movies, and he plays that initial CRS contact that Michael Douglas has. He's fantastic in the role. Towards the end of the movie, he's like, I'm just an actor. They just brought me in to, they just paid me. He's being accosted at the zoo when he's there with his family. I think he's fantastic in that role. The twist ending and not being able to distinguish between what was really happening and what was not really happening is the secret sauce of this movie that's not so secret. It either works for you or it doesn't. And for me, it worked for me. The twist ending, all the different elements of, is this real or is this just a game? All that was great. I love the design of the creepy clown. And I also love the sequence with the TV news anchor when the game is immediately starting, and it created that immense sense of paranoia, an immediate sense of paranoia to kick things off. The home video birthday party footage, which clearly feels like it inspired Succession later on in the intro that we saw play out in
I'm glad
Succession.
you brought that up, because as I was watching the trailer, it's like, I hadn't really made the Succession connection, but yeah.
It feels just like I'm getting ready to watch Succession. I love Succession. I have never seen the game before, so I know obviously that this came first, but the tie-in there feels like Succession definitely took some liberties, creative liberties that the game put into place. The tie-in of the 48th birthday of his dad, that's when the suicide happened, and then Nicholas's upcoming 48th birthday, I think that's a great narrative tie-in. And I love any time you can properly introduce into a movie the joke of Seymour Butts, and it did that in this. Things I wasn't wild about, a lot of the twists and turns during the second act, I was just waiting for the next big plot development rather than a lot of the action that we saw. I'm kind of with Tyler. You have to kind of be like, okay, what's really going on here? I kind of want more answers than questions, and it just kept presenting question after question after question. Sean Penn's Conrad to me felt a bit underutilized. I would actually like to have seen more of that character.
I agree.
Not much stood out for me visually in this movie as being iconic, things that I would like if I was to take a single frame of this movie and go, oh man, that's the shot of the film. I don't know if I have one of those from this film. And unlike Rockstar, I'd probably actually like to see a sequel. I'd like to know what happened next. I'd like to see a bigger picture of, did this really change him, or did he go back to his old ways? It's just assumed that he was less trusting of things, but also a better human after this experience. But I would have actually liked to have seen some sort of narrative payoff. And maybe that's happened in some form of novelization. I doubt it has, but even if it's just a novel, I'd like something extended with this Michael Douglas character. So with all of that, Rockstar, with it being your choice, you get the final word on the impact that this film had on you.
I think we went to Hollywood Video in 1997 and rented this. I watched it, and looking back at it now, it is a modern day Scrooge. Does anybody see that?
Yeah.
And you say what I loved is the underutilization of Sean Penn. Why I like this is they have a A-list actor, and he's 3 scenes: the beginning scene, the middle scene, and the final scene. I like that he's underutilized. They have a big name actor like that. It shows Michael Douglas is estranged from his family. I think he's just divorced his wife, lost both parents. And Conrad says, I haven't seen you in 3 or 4 years since mom's funeral. And so he doesn't talk to me. He has a huge house, just has a maid, and he's alone, and he's just a ASS to everybody. And what kills me is the immediate sense of paranoia he has throughout the film. So when he comes back from the dead from Mexico, waking up in a tomb, oh my God, waking up in a tomb, and you have no money on you. How do you get back home? And him sitting at the restaurant, pissed off at the waiter because I said I want a bottled water unopened. This bottled water's been opened. Every time you see something, you get a drink, you think you're going to be drugged. You think everybody's an actor. Who's in on this? Or this person in on it? That paranoia. And one of the best scenes, I think, is when he finally gets the gun, comes in with what's the actor's name? The zoo guy.
Oh, yeah. That would be James Rebhorn.
They go to the CRS building, just pick a random floor, and they obviously go to the cafeteria where everybody's eating, where it's every person in his construction workers, police officers, nurses, waiters, waitresses that he's all seen throughout the movie. Like, these are all actors throughout the, just so amazing, which I know the nitpicking thing, like, how would they know he's going to jump off the building? What if he's just like, I just shot my brother? Well, damn. Like, how do
That's
they
what
know?
all the tests are for, right?
Which is interesting. Yeah, the psychological tests and everything about how he would be. And it's just, I wasn't a huge fan of the ending. I like how they had a little comedic part with Sean Penn holding the, I was drugged in Mexico and left for dead for a game or something like that. I like that, but just the overall, the reason I don't want a sequel, when I say sequel, I'm thinking American Psycho 2 with Mila Kunis. That's what I'm talking about, sequel, where they're kind of like, it's not Michael Douglas, it's not an update on him or his brother, it's just another, we're just going to use this baseline with another actress, and pretty much do the same exact movie, kind of different lifestyle. That's what I was talking about, sequel.
Very well said. John, there's a movie you brought up in The Social Network that also is done by David Fincher, like The Game from 1997. And this film and that film share one trait very much, and that is that technology can be predictive of someone's behavior. And that can be the scariest part of both of those films, is that we're living now in a world where The Game and The Social Network maybe at one point were trying to make people aware that their behavior can be predicted. But now we're living at a time where advances in technology truly are predicting human behavior and are now trying to replicate it. It's kind of a scary thing.
Turns out CRS actually created the algorithms we now have on Facebook and Instagram and, of course, all the other social platforms.
This movie
TikTok,
was ahead of its
else.
time.
I was saying, it's not dated. Like, well, I guess the opening scene with the newscast and everything with the tube television, but really, it's not really a dated movie.
No, I mean, it's not a dated movie, and that's I'm more thinking, instead of a remake of some sort, I would like to see a sequel from Michael Douglas's perspective, present day. So like, hey, he's lived his life now for the last 25, 30 years, and you all of a sudden start thinking, because you kind of get that thing at the end, like, am I still in the game or not? It's like, hey, you've been have a potential been in this game for 30 years, and I've got off and gotten remarried, and that person is a part of the game.
The
and
Truman
everybody,
Show.
It basically is like a Truman Show kind of mentality. And oh, by the way, I'm on all these social platforms, and they have built a complete personality profile of me through all of this using CRS technology. That then it almost does kind of use the Social Network as a tie-in to this movie, and then present day, obviously, everything we have comes through this. That's, I mean, really and truly, Facebook has a profile of all of us through this and all these social platforms. Except Tyler, he doesn't have accounts on a lot of that. So good job, Tyler. But
Tyler wouldn't be fooled by this, which is why he wasn't fooled by the movie.
Tyler would have to be our Sean Penn, kind of guiding us through this. But like it would be fascinating now. I think instead of just saying, "Hey, we're going to be a direct sequel like a year later," and maybe Michael Douglas is in it, maybe it's a Mila Kunis thing from American Psycho, but I would like to see it now because of the effects that social media and the world and of technology has had.
The biggest issue I have with the business model of this is only millionaires and billionaires could actually participate in this because the production cost of putting all this together.
How much did all these people get paid? Talk about going to that cafeteria and it's everybody you see in the movie. Every one of those people had to be paid a decent wage to work and do this. And by the way, do this multiple times because somebody else is going to do the game after that. That it does make you wonder how much money went into this.
Well, Sean Penn split the bill with Michael Douglas.
That's true, but it all comes from the same pot of daddy's fortune that he's no longer around to use. Director David Fincher had intended to make the game before 7. 7 came out in 1995, but when Brad Pitt became available for 7, the project then became the top priority. The success of 7 helped the producers of the game get the larger budget that they wanted. They then approached Michael Douglas to star in the film. He was hesitant at first because he was concerned that Polygram, who I have not seen another movie from in my life, was not a big enough company to distribute the film. However, once he was on board, Douglas's presence helped get the film into production. The game was released on September 12th of 1997 and grossed $14.3 million during its opening weekend. It went on to make $48.3 million in North America, $61.1 million in the rest of the world for a worldwide total of $109.4 million, which I think is really good for a film of that scale worldwide during that time of 1997. It is often heralded as Fincher's most underappreciated film to date. So, that's what you need to know about the game. Is this a movie you appreciate all these years later? Let us know in the comment section below, and make sure you take a look at our title sponsor, where you can play a couple of games yourself there, John, at MyBookie.
There you go. Go to mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round. We promise you won't get sucked into a giant game like this. Instead, you can just bet with some extra money thanks to MyBookie and us here at the next round in the Meltdown. Use that promo code. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere on any kind of sports betting, any kind of casino games, any kind of slots you want. MyBookie.ag.
Make sure you're subscribed right here to the Meltdown Daily Show at 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern, and more retro trailer reactions every single week right here with the Meltdown.